Hi guys, in this video I wanted to go over the differences between an employee and an independent contractor. Specifically, kind of how that relates to tax, because an employee will be taxed differently than an independent contractor is, so it's important to be able to distinguish between the two. So at a very, very general level, the way that you can distinguish between an employee and independent contractor is control. If the business has more control over the worker, then that is probably going to be an employer to employee relationship. And the opposite is also true. If a worker has more control in how they do things, etc., then they're going to be treated as an independent contractor. So fortunately, there is some guidance provided, and it's found in Revenue Ruling 87-41. And in this ruling, there are 20 factors to consider. And basically what this will do is will help you as a taxpayer determine who has the most control in the relationship. Now, within these factors, none of these really outweigh each other or one another. So what you'll need to do is just gather all the facts of your certain case and then make a determination based off of that. Now, I won't go over all 20 factors, but I will highlight a few. So the first one is time. If an employee, or if a worker has a full-time schedule, if they're required to work a certain amount of hours a week with a certain business, that more likely indicates that they have a set schedule with this business, and that would probably lean more towards them being an employee. Another factor to consider is training. If a worker is required to be trained for the position, and within that training they're taught certain procedures to use when performing a certain task, again, that would indicate that there's an employer to an employee relationship. Another one to kind of consider is supervision. If a worker is required to report back either notes of a certain thing or progress on a certain project, again, that would indicate an employer to an employee relationship. On the flip side of that, some factors that would help you indicate that you're an independent contractor would be things like you providing your own tools and supplies. So if you're going to a certain job, if a computer was required for the certain job and you brought your own computer, you brought your own software and other tools, and you brought it to an off-site place to do the work, again, that would probably indicate or more lean towards you being an independent contractor. If you can work with multiple businesses all at the same time and you're not restricted to one, again, that would probably lean more towards you being an independent contractor than an employee of a certain business. So to emphasize, any one of those factors standing alone wouldn't be enough to substantiate one position or the other. You would have to take all the facts of your certain case and then weigh it based on that to determine whether you're an employee or an independent contractor. Now that we've established who can be an independent contractor, who is an employee, let's talk about some differences between the two for tax reporting purposes. So an employee, and you've probably been an employee some point of your life, your wages are reported on a Form W-2. And throughout the year, as you're paid, based on whatever timetable it is, you'll get a check from your employer, and you'll look at it, you'll see your gross pay, you'll see some taxes withheld, like your federal income tax and your Social Security tax and your Medicare tax being withheld from your paycheck. You may have other benefits like health insurance that are also deducted from your paycheck. And then what the employer does will withhold those taxes for you and then remit those taxes to the taxing authorities on your behalf. Now, an independent contractor is paid on a 1099-MISC as non-employee compensation. It's pretty straightforward. When you're an independent contractor, you get a check from the business that you did perform services for. There's no net pay to it. It's just your gross. There's nothing deducted from it. And you, as the independent contractor, are responsible for paying those taxes, either by filing your tax return or through quarterly estimated tax payments. And most likely it will be a combination from both. So one of the biggest benefits to being an independent contractor is the available deductions to you. An employee does have some deductions available, but they're going to be subject to some limitations. So as an independent contractor, you have a great opportunity to use these deductions to lower your income from your business activity. And that's important, because the downside to being an independent contractor is you're more than likely going to be paying more in taxes as an independent contractor. And the reason for that is that the net profit from your activity will be subject to self-employment taxes, which in most cases will be an additional flat 15% tax rate on your net profit from your business activities. The one final item I wanted to discuss is from the viewpoint of the business owner. If you're looking to hire somebody as a business owner, you may be wondering to yourself, should I hire someone as an employee or independent contractor? From purely a cost savings and tax savings viewpoint, it is much more advantageous to hire someone as an independent contractor. The reason for that is that employees are very expensive. So not only are you paying employee wages, but there are additional taxes associated with those wages that you'll need to pay as an employer. There's additional costs such as training. There'll be some materials and supplies that you'll need to pay for to supply to the employees so they can perform their job duties. And there's also several other additional costs like insuring them. So an independent contractor, the only cost associated with that is the fee that both parties agreed upon or that the independent contractor, those services that the independent contractor will perform for your business. That's the only cost associated with an independent contractor. Now, when you do bring someone on, and if you decided I want to pay someone as an independent contractor, you'll want to make sure that your relationship is consistent with those standards. You can't simply state in a contract that you want to pay anybody as an independent contractor and still retain sufficient control over that worker. If the IRS were to ever audit that situation or audit that relationship that you have between you and this worker, what they will look at is the substance of that relationship. They won't necessarily rely on the form of the contract that the business and the worker agreed to. Again, where their main focus will be on is the substance of your relationship. So if you want to bring someone on as an independent contractor, be sure that you follow those standards. If you don't, you risk that relationship, and in the worst case scenario, if that designation is changed on that worker from an independent contractor to an employee, you may be subject to paying some additional taxes as well as penalty. So you'll want to be careful with that. So I hope this video was helpful in discussing the differences between an employee and an independent contractor. If you have additional questions, click here to book your free, no obligation consultation. Also, be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter and subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly updates. If you have a tax question you would like us to answer, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you.